And Brian, are you able to hear us and everything good?
Yes. Can you guys hear me? Good morning.
Yes, we can hear you. Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you for joining us today.
Absolutely. I'm excited.
Yeah. And everybody that's on, we'll keep admitting people as they come on, but we'd like to get started today. Our speaker is going to be Brian Alfaro. We saw him speak at MM5 whenever we were over there. I don't know who else was able to see him speak, him and his partner, Cody. And that was great. It was a great multifamily story from Houston. And we just wanted to let him kind of take it away, tell us about his journey, get into his development, in real estate, and then just go into some questions afterward and kind of let him kick it off and take us through his journey.
Yeah, guys. So today I'm actually going to present, I have a slide deck here ready to present. I will definitely cover my journey, but today I'm going to talk about how to accelerate your social media brand. It's particularly focusing on Facebook and LinkedIn. So I'm going to share my screen if I have that capability to do so, and we'll talk a little bit about my journey as well. Let's see. Go here. Can you guys see my screen?
Yep, you're good, Brian. Yeah.
Okay,
Yes, we can see it.
Awesome. So today I want to talk a little bit about accelerating your social media brand on Facebook and LinkedIn. So Valerie reached out to me and asked if I could speak at this event, which I was excited to present on. And social media is something I like talking about because a lot of people reach out to me in particular about like LinkedIn and Facebook, and just kind of knowing where to get started can be challenging, especially if you don't have a social media background. So hopefully the content today is able to help you think about your profile a little bit more in detail and leverage it to actually help you grow your business. All right, so today we're going to talk a little bit about me. We'll talk about my journey, how I got to where I'm at. And the two things I really want to focus on today are your profile and then the content. So hopefully we can talk about some good stuff. And I definitely want to leave a lot of room for questions. I'm not going to be presenting the whole time. So I'm a managing partner of Blue Oak Capital. My focus is on investor relations and outreach. So think about talking to investors, attracting investors, marketing, which is why social media is a topic I feel very comfortable talking about, because marketing, social media is a part of marketing, right? So I have a background in operations, marketing, and development. So I worked in the restaurant industry for a really long time. I worked at a restaurant concept. Some of you have probably had it. Maybe you have, maybe you haven't. They're getting pretty big, called Raising Cane's Chicken Fingers. I was there for almost 15 years on the operations side. I worked various positions all the way from 16 years old. I was a fry cook and worked my way all the way up the corporate ladder. I was there for almost 15 years. Left in 2019, but I got to have various roles and learn the ins and outs of both inbound marketing and outbound marketing. And even though that was a fast food restaurant, you're like, well, what does fast food have to do with social media and real estate? Well, marketing kind of has some general fundamentals and principles that you need to understand, no matter whether you're selling real estate, you're selling a passive investment opportunity, you're selling chicken tenders, you're selling candy. It doesn't really matter. Understanding the psychology of marketing is really important. So that allowed me that background to really understand marketing and use those skills in my real estate journey. So I started investing in real estate in 2018. That was 5 years ago. So I was 28. So I'm 33 now. And I had no experience in real estate. My parents are forever renters. They never owned a home when I was growing up, but I was looking around and I knew that I wanted to change my family tree. I wanted to change my family's journey and the legacy that I leave behind. And not that it was always about money, but I wanted to have an impact on my family and try to create what we all use the cheesy term generational wealth, right? What does that even mean? It's subjective, but I wanted to create wealth for my family and to do something different that nobody in my family has ever done. And that's leave some assets behind. Nobody that I know, maybe minus their primary residence that's in my family tree, has any large scale assets. And I wanted to be the first one to do that. So I started learning about real estate. My wife and I just bought our first primary residence. So I was already reading a lot of books about how to buy your first house. And I caught the bug. If you type in real estate investing on Google, you'll probably find things like Bigger Pockets, which is what I was all over. I was very active on Bigger Pockets, learning the ins and outs of residential real estate, because that's all I knew and that's all I thought was possible for myself. I didn't ever think getting into large commercial, multi-million-dollar transactions was something that was going to happen to me in any short order. I thought maybe, hey, I'll do this residential thing for 10 or 15 years, and then maybe I'll graduate into multifamily or commercial or some sort of, triple net retail, whatever it was. But very quickly realized that I do love residential real estate. I think it's a very powerful tool. I think a lot of times us as multifamily investors sometimes crap on residential real estate because it can be a headache to manage, but it's a very powerful wealth building tool. So I still love it. I mean, it's very easy to think of, people overcomplicate it. Like if you own 10 houses, which is the max amount of houses you can own in your name before you have to get into a commercial type loan, and they're all paid off by the time you're 60. By then, average rents in the United States are probably around $2,000, maybe more. 10 times 2 is $20,000 a month, right? Who doesn't want to have $20,000 a month in residential real estate income coming in on top of potentially 401ks and IRAs and different things like that, plus your equities and any other real estate you own? $20,000 is pretty good living. And that's just from owning 10 paid off houses. I mean, it doesn't get much easier than that, right? So I still think residential real estate is a really powerful wealth building tool. It's a very slow moving tool. And it takes a lot of your own personal capital if you don't have partners as well. So I did that for a couple of years and had a mindset shift that even though I loved residential real estate, I wanted to scale up. I wanted to go faster. I wanted to work with partners, and I wanted to try to get into commercial real estate. So early 2020, right before COVID hit, I just made that switch. I said, you know what? Let me just flip the switch. There's not going to be like this slow, gradual transition where I take 3 years to get there. Let's just flip the switch. Let's just go down the journey. Let's stop the residential stuff. Let's start the commercial real estate stuff. And that's exactly what I did. So I went out and sought a mentorship group because I knew that commercial real estate was high risk, high reward. And what I mean by that is if you mess up a residential real estate transaction, maybe you lose a few $1,000. Maybe you lose 10, 15, $20,000, which is a lot of money. Don't get me wrong, but it's not, probably not going to sink you, right? If you mess up a commercial real estate transaction that costs 10, 20, $30 million, well, that can really sink the ship and kind of change you in direction. So I knew I needed mentorship. I needed guidance. So I went out and sought a commercial real estate mastermind group and ended up joining Jake and Gino, which is where I think a lot of us have connected before. I'm also in the MIH mastermind, met Marco through there, and have tried to associate myself with as many of these groups as possible because I know that your network needs to be really strong to be successful in this business. So went out on that journey, and we ended up, after joining in 2020, ended up doing our first co-sponsorship in 2021 and did 3 deals that year. Did a deal in February of 2022. And then we did an industrial deal mid-late last year. It was our first thing outside of multifamily. We have a co-sponsored opportunities that we're looking at. We're also always looking at our own deals as well. So, and most of the stuff that we've all done has all been 506C. So it's okay for me to talk about it. So we're always looking for deals. So I'm in Houston. So Houston, San Antonio is our primary market. And we've got about $120 million or so of real estate transactions that we've done in a mix of some of our own deals and some of co-sponsored deals. So building good momentum. So that's my journey. A lot of people, have seen me and see like I'm very active online, very active on social media, although I've been kind of strategizing a little bit more the last 3 or so months. So I've been a little bit more quiet than normal, but it's because I'm trying to be very tactive, and you'll see what I'm talking about here in a second, being very conscious about what's being posted. So that's me, that's my journey, but let's talk about why I'm here today, because I want to make sure I add a lot of value to you. So today I want to talk about building a rockstar profile first. So think about your Facebook profile, think about your LinkedIn profile. I'm not on Instagram because I don't want to be a jack of all trades and try to be an Instagram warrior and a Facebook warrior and a LinkedIn warrior and a TikTok warrior. Like there's too many social media platforms. My personal belief is you have to get good at 1 or 2 and create that content mastery. And then it becomes really easy to repurpose your content once you have that content mastery down. We'll talk about content at the end. So, but I want to talk about how to build a rockstar profile on Facebook and LinkedIn in particular. So why is having a rockstar profile important? Why is having a really awesome profile really, really, really important? So one, it's going to help you attract people. So your profile can attract all kinds of people. And it could be vendors, it could be lenders, it could be property managers, it can be insurance people, it could be potential passive investors, it can be potential co-sponsors, it can be capital raisers, it can be other GPs, it can be JV partners. There's so many, sometimes it's just looky-loos, as I like to call them, people that just want to follow you and be nosy. But having a clear profile that attracts people. So when they find your profile, they know exactly what the type of content they're going to get from you is going to help you grow your audience. And I can give you guys some example. I can share my screen here in a minute, and I'm not like bragging or anything like that, but I don't know how many friend requests that y'all get on a daily basis. I probably get 10 to 20 plus on Facebook, just like friend requests. And I'm very selective about who I let in. I don't want any like Forex traders and people selling me junk, which I'm sure we all get. But getting those friend requests, I'm like, well, why are people trying to add me as a friend? And you'll see why here in a second. Same thing for LinkedIn. Second thing a good profile can do is it can help educate people, right? So you should be using your profile to educate your followers and build relationships, build genuine relationships. It's called social media, right? So we should be being social. We should be engaging with people. People should be engaging with you. And we should be trying to build relationships with people online. So it helps educate people as well. And the last thing that a really great profile, something you actually invest time into, can do is it helps nurture and trust people. So it helps you build a strong following. And if your profile has a lot of engagement, it also helps build your credibility and it helps build trust with other potential people. So if you've got a profile and you scroll through your content and everything has like one comment or one like or something like that, it's not necessarily a bad thing because people could be seeing your content and not engaging. That's actually very common, especially if you're not intentfully posting and you're not posting in a way that makes the algorithm want to show your content. But at the same time, your profile needs to be generating buzz. It needs to be showing up on people's feed. And in order to do that, there has to be engagement, meaning there has to be likes, there has to be comments, there has to be views. And if people aren't engaging on a sum of your content, then you're not showing up at the top of the algorithm, which means your stuff is not being seen. And we've all probably experienced this before if we've been on social media, where maybe you post something and it gets no likes, it gets no comments, nobody says a word, and you're just like, well, okay, that clearly my audience didn't resonate with that. It doesn't mean you should take it down. It doesn't mean you shouldn't have posted it. We can talk a little bit about this. If you guys want, some of this is trial and error. Sometimes you have to post something to see what happens. It's an experiment, and then see like, okay, did my audience resonate with that, right? So you'll learn as you go, but it does help you build, it does help you nurture, it does help you build trust with people. When you visit a profile and you see that all their stuff has 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 comments, a lot of likes, people are engaging. This means this guy is a thought leader. He's somebody who's creating content that is valuable, that is engaging to people. And I want to follow it and be a part of the conversation because nobody likes missing out. So important you build a profile. So let's go through and talk about building a rockstar. I think I'm going the wrong way. Okay, cool. So one of these things I want to, I don't know if you guys have heard this before. I want to make sure that I highlight is that your social media profile is your business card, right? This is our new age business card. People look us up online. People look us up on LinkedIn. People look us up on Facebook. People look us up on Instagram. So if you don't have a profile that is intentfully put together, you're basically missing out on an opportunity to give somebody your business card. So your social media profile is your business card. Remember that. So I want to talk a little bit about your profile. Let's go into detail here. How do you set your profile up for success? And you'll see my profile here on the right-hand side. I actually did some updating yesterday. I was working with some colors and different things like that. So, so how do we build a winning profile? We'll go through each one line by one. So the first one is your goal is to earn attention. Remember that your profile should be earning people's attention. And why do I use the word earn? And it's because you have to earn it. Think about how many people are on social media. I should have looked this number up. It's an insane amount of people. It's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of millions of people, if not billions of people. Then go even farther and deeper. If you're here and you're in multifamily real estate, think about how many people are talking about multifamily real estate. It's a lot, right? So your goal is to earn their trust. Why should people want to follow you or somewhere else? You have to earn it, and you have to earn it by posting quality content. So, and also you have to remember that your profile and your personal brand needs to be understood, right? So when I go to your profile, it should be very clear what you do. You shouldn't have 10 different things on there. It should be very clear, like, oh, this guy talks about real estate. Oh, this guy talks about short-term rentals. Oh, this guy talks about, triple net retail, whatever it is it might be, or multifamily real estate. Or just real estate in general, right? It should be very clear what your profile and your brand, what the message is trying to get out. And remember that your profile should be unique, right? Everybody's profile is different. We're all different. We're all cut from a different cloth, and you want to make your profile as unique as possible. And by unique, I mean making sure you're using strong words, making sure you're using good colors, and try to differentiate yourself from everybody else. We shouldn't all be the same, right? It should also be clear when they visit your profile what value you're adding to them, right? So if I visit your profile and I can't see it because I haven't added you as a friend yet, or we haven't connected yet, I should be motivated to hit that follow button, to hit that add friend button, because it's very clear that what type of content you're going to be delivering that's valuable to me, right? So it should be very clear what value you're adding to them. And the last thing I want to say about your profile, building a winning profile, is don't get fancy. I see people sometimes use things that they try to get creative to sound unique. They'll use creative words or creative copy or things that are confusing. Remember that the things that we know as educated real estate investors, the average person does not know, right? So a lot of people don't know about a lot of these terms. And when we throw them around too much, they can confuse people. And if you're confusing people, confused mind says no is a comment, right? So don't try to get too fancy with your word selection, because you're just going to confuse people. So there are 5 key elements to building a winning profile. So this is really important, and make sure you guys write these down if you're paying attention. One is having a great profile picture. Is it attention grabbing? Is it clear? Does it align with your image? The image that you're trying to portray. So if you're trying to be, the family guy who invests in real estate, where maybe your picture is a picture of you and your family, or you and your daughter, or you and your wife, that's fine, right? But if you're trying to be professional, and maybe you're trying to give that more sophisticated look, like you're a business professional, well, maybe you need to be in a suit and tie, or maybe you need to be in business casual type of attire, something that's a little bit more clean, right? But you do need to make sure your profile picture is also clear quality, no low quality image. The second thing is, does your banner add to your brand, right? Does it portray that message? Now, it doesn't necessarily need to have words on it, but if your banner is not adding to your overall image, your lifestyle image, your brand image, then it's not helping communicate your message across, right? So if you're somebody who maybe talks about financial freedom a lot, which is a very popular topic, it's a great topic to talk about, well, maybe a picture of you on a mountain, or a picture of you hiking, or a picture of you doing something outdoors, that could be a great profile banner, because it's showing you living that lifestyle freedom, especially if you've already achieved that, right? But there's other ways to go with your banner as well. Maybe you have text on your banner, or you have an image on your banner that portrays a clear message to somebody about your content. There's no right or wrong there. Just make sure it aligns with your message. The third thing is your bio. Does it define what type of content you're going to be creating? And does it validate you in the type of, and your proposition that you're offering them as well? So we'll go through some examples of my bio here in a second. Call to action is the next one. Do they have a way to fall into your funnel? So you can add links onto your LinkedIn page, and you can also add links onto your Facebook page. And the links should be something that people want to click on. If they're not going to immediately click on it, very likely when they find you. But if you're creating content that is valuable to them, they're going to eventually visit your profile and click on that link. So having that call to action and offering them something of value, maybe it's the opportunity to visit your website. Maybe it's an opportunity to fill out an investor form. Maybe it's an opportunity to go to your podcast page or your YouTube page. Maybe you have some sort of lead magnet, right? We haven't talked about, we're not talking about lead magnets today, but creating a lead magnet can be a very effective way to get somebody into your CRM so that you can follow up with them. Maybe it's a potential investor, maybe it's a potential co-GP or somebody who raises capital, who knows, right? But having that call to action is also really important. And then the most important key element, I would argue, is your content. You can have a crappy picture and a crappy banner and a crappy bio and no call to action. But if your content is just spot on, it outweighs everything else, right? So having really great content that aligns with you, that aligns with your message is really important. It's really important that you know what you're talking about when you're posting content. So let's go through my profile. So this is my profile and what it looks like on Facebook mobile. And we'll highlight some things here on my particular profile. So one, you'll see my profile banner. I chose to create a profile banner that shows that obviously I'm in real estate. There's a building behind it. It's one of the properties that we own. And then I have a banner up top that says cash flow freedom, right? So the things that I talk about are real estate, small business, and personal finance. So if you're scrolling and you're on Facebook and you see me and you're not a friend yet, and you see my banner behind me, it's very clear that I talk about 3 things. And we'll talk about content here in a second, but it's not a surprise. Now, if I just had the real estate behind me, that would be cool too. It doesn't need to say cash flow freedom or real estate, small business, finance. It's clear I'm in real estate. That would be great too. But the image aligns with what my content talks about, right? And the second thing you'll see here is my profile photo. I prefer to portray a more professional image. So you'll see me there in a business casual. I've got a suit, no tie on, but business casual. And then my background color aligns with my profile banner, right? It's really important that your colors have some symmetry there because the goal is to stop the scroll. And when people see colors that attract their attention, it's going to make it more likely that they're going to actually see your content and they're going to want to add you as a friend. So you'll see my background matches one of the colors of the building behind it, which is very intentional. And then the last thing is my bio, right? It's very, very, very simple. It's not fancy. It says, I buy real estate and small businesses, sharing lessons learned to help you become a smarter investor, right? There's no guessing on what type of content I'm going to be putting out there, what type of value I'm going to be putting out there. And if you see this when you're scrolling, you're like, oh, I want to be a smarter investor, add as friend, right? Who doesn't want to be a smarter investor, right? So it's very clear what type of content I'm going to be sharing. It's very clear that if you follow me, I'm going to try to make you a smarter investor, right? So that's going to increase the likelihood that somebody adds you as a friend. It's going to increase the likelihood that we'll talk about LinkedIn in a second, or follows you, right? Now, I'm breaking one of my own rules here. I don't have a call to action on my Facebook profile. It's something that I'm working on, but there obviously are ways to add a link right below my bio as well. But I do have one on LinkedIn. So this is my Facebook version. Now, one thing I want to make sure I highlight that's really, really important is Facebook version of the mobile on your app or your Android iPhone can look very different than the desktop version. So it's very important that when you create your banner, if your banner has text in it, that it does not get cut off. And that you have to be very strategic about it. So for example, if I had created this banner, if I had put cash flow freedom right in the middle of the building, my headshot would cut it off. You wouldn't be able to read it, right? So I had to move the banner, the copy, to the very, very top so that you can see it. It's above my profile picture. About 6 months ago, or maybe a year ago, Facebook moved the profile picture to the left side of the screen. It used to be in the middle. So you have to pay attention for those small changes like that because it can affect your banner and you might need to make some changes. So this is my mobile version. This is my desktop version, right? So you'll see same thing when you visit my desktop version. It's the exact same thing. It's just a little bit bigger, right? So I've got my banner, got cash flow freedom. It's very clear. It's not fuzzy. It's not blurry. Looks awesome. The colors match up. I've got my photo, which is the exact same one that you saw a minute ago. And then my bio is right there. And if I had a call to action, it would be right below my intro there as well. Let's look at my LinkedIn one. So very, very, very similar. You'll notice compared to the last two, my cash flow freedom tag has moved very top up here, a little bit more down here. And it's just because the size, the pixel size of the banners on LinkedIn are very different than the banners on Facebook. So you have to know the pixel size. And just so you know, you can get either a VA or a graphic designer, or you can do it yourself. You can do this. I use Canva, and I'm also pretty proficient at Photoshop. So if I want to do something a little bit fancier, maybe I'll use Photoshop. But Canva is a great tool you can use. It's free, or you can pay for a premium version that I think is maybe like 10 or 12 bucks a month. So it's totally worth it. So this is my LinkedIn mobile. You'll see my profile banner right up top, which we talked about. My photo colors match just like we talked about. My bio matches exactly what I have on Facebook. It says, I buy cash flowing real estate and small businesses, sharing lessons learned to help you become a smarter investor. And then I've got my call to action on this one. So this one, my call to action says private investments. So if you're following me and you like the stuff that I'm talking about, you can go, oh, what's private investments? And you can click on it. It's going to take you to our website. It's going to take you to our investor application. So that's something that you can do. If I had a call to action, I could put a lead magnet there. Like I could have a call to action that says become a smarter investor. And then it has a lead magnet. Maybe it's a PDF, like a 10-page PDF on 5 or 7 things you can do to become a smarter investor, right? Books you can read, YouTube channels you can watch, podcasts you can listen to, websites you can visit, blogs you can visit. You can create you can spend 2-3 hours on a lead magnet, and then you can create that value and give somebody a reason to give you their name, their email, and their phone number. So I have my call to action here. And then my desktop version looks exactly the same, obviously just a little bit bigger. And you'll see my my profile banner, my photo, my bio, my call to action. So that's LinkedIn. And don't worry, y'all, we will leave questions at the end. I'm just kind of burn through this. So the last thing I want to talk about is your content. Is your content adding value and generating buzz? This is really, really important. And not all my content does this. You'll see me trial and error and stuff all the time if you follow me. But your goal is to create engagement. So these are from the last one from October, one from January 18th, and one from January 19th. You'll see I asked a question, how much money do you think you need to retire? Very engaging question that people have various responses on. I got almost 50 comments. just a platitude here. The big secret to being successful in real estate investors, there's no secret. Hard work and success, hard work and consistency equals success. Got 24 comments. And then I talked a little bit about FOMO, which is fear of missing out. Again, just another message to people that are real estate investors, and it got 44 comments. So if you look at my content and you kind of look at it and you analyze it, you'll notice that I get a lot of engagements when I'm talking about real estate. I get a lot of engagements when I'm talking about wealth. So clearly my followers on Facebook are people that are engaged in real estate and people that are engaged in building wealth. So I need to make sure my content is wrapped around those things, knowing who my audience is. Now, my audience on LinkedIn might be different, which means my content, this might get 50 comments on Facebook and 1 comment on LinkedIn. So it's really important that you know that who your audience is. And we're not going to talk too much about audience today, but it's just something that's really important to consider when you're picking your friends on Facebook and choosing who you let connect with you and follow you on LinkedIn as well. So let's talk about content. So I want to ask you all a serious question and think about this. Ask yourself, who's your content for? What are your goals on social media? Are you committed to being a content creator? And then what are the 3 pillars of your content? So kind of running through these. So who is my content for is really important. Posting content on social media for the sake of posting content is, in my opinion, a huge waste of time. Social media can be a huge waste of time. And I will tell you, prior to 2019, I actually was not on social media. And that was very strategic. I had social media through college. And in 2012, when I graduated college, I made the decision to cancel all my social media accounts. I canceled Facebook. I was not active on LinkedIn. I was on Instagram way before Instagram was popular, and I just never used it. I just decided it wasn't for me because I wasn't doing anything that I needed it for. Now that I'm back on social media because of my real estate business, I need to ask myself, who is my content for? Am I trying to attract other JV partners? Am I trying to attract other co-sponsors that can raise capital for me, or I can raise capital for? Am I trying to attract passive investors? Because if you don't know who your content's for, you don't know who you're talking to. It's just going to be you posting into a black hole. It needs to be very strategic about who you're talking to, right? And then you need to have goals on social media. You need to figure out, am I trying to raise capital? Am I trying to get email addresses? Am I trying to find JV partnerships? Why am I posting on social media? Because posting on social media without an intent is a huge waste of time, right? It should be used to grow your business, period, or to stay connected with friends and family. But today we're talking about strategically using it for business, right? Are you committed to being a content creator is really important. This is the one that I get a lot of questions about. It's like, man, I don't know what to post. Like, I'm just getting started in real estate. What do I talk about? Right. So are you committed to being a content creator and working through the struggles that you have to work through when you're first getting started and you're just, I don't know what to talk about, that can take some time to get comfortable and learn what your audience likes. And then figuring out finally, and we'll talk about this at the end, what are my 3 pillars of content? What are the things that I always talk about that I say the same thing in 100 different ways, right? So the first thing you need to do in order, if you're going to be serious on social media, is you need to have a creator mindset, right? You need to make sure that you are thinking like a creator and not thinking like a consumer. Difference between a creator and a consumer is they're there to create things that people want to engage with. 99% of people on social media are there to consume. We open our app, we open our thing, and we just aimlessly scroll, right? I like to make fun of my wife because she'll get on TikTok and then like an hour will pass and I'm like, what did you just do with your life? You just wasted an hour. So it's just like, if you're there to consume, and that's not bad, right? We work very hard. Sometimes we just want to be entertained. We want to watch a YouTube video. We want to do that. And there's a time and a place for that. But if you're using your social media account to grow your real estate business, you need to understand that you need to become a creator and not a consumer. You're not there to consume other people's content, right? So that's really important. You're there to earn people's business. You're there to earn their attention and their following. You're there to promote your business, right? And you're willing to take risks to generate buzz, meaning you're willing to post something that's a little bit risque, so to speak, to try to create that engagement, because there's no such thing as bad engagement. Even if people disagree with you, who cares, right? You're not there to be entertained, right? So you're not just timeline scrolling. You're not there to beg for likes, comments. You're not just tagging people to do that. You're not there to debate with others because it's a waste of time. And then you're not there to compare yourselves to others, which is funny because, I posted a minute, you saw my one about FOMO, but it's so true. When you're getting started in real estate, you'll see people posting, I just closed this deal. I just closed this deal. I just closed this deal. I just raised this much money. I just closed another deal, another deal, another deal. You're comparing yourselves to others when you do that. Stop that. You're not there to consume content and compare yourself to others. You're there to be a creator and to go on your own journey, because every one of us has our own journey, right? So in order to create good content, you need to consume good content. This is really important. So this is talking a little bit about how do I create content that people want to engage with, right? So in order to create good content, you have to consume good content. If you're, it's a lot like your diet. If you're consuming junk and you eat nothing but chips and candy and pizza, well, you're probably going to be out of shape and not feel, even if you're in good shape, maybe you have great metabolism, you're going to feel pretty crappy, right? Because you're consuming bad stuff. The same thing happens with content. If you're consuming low quality content, you're going to put out low quality content, or you're going to struggle to create content. So if you're just aimlessly scrolling through the timeline, if you're following things on the news, if you're only watching Netflix all day, right? You're just consuming low quality content. It's going to be really hard for you to create quality content. So things that I recommend you consume, the things that are good to consume, not just the timeline scrolling, or one, find good quality blogs. So if you're in triple net real estate, find a triple net blog. If you're in short-term rentals, Airbnbs, find an Airbnb blog. If you're in multifamily, find a multifamily blog. Somebody who's credible, who writes good content that you can help you generate content, right? Listen to, excuse me, listen to podcasts, right? When you listen to podcasts, maybe you listen to a podcast episode about asset management. Well, there's a social media post. You just listen to 45 minutes of somebody talking about asset management. You tell me you can't create one post after listening to a 45-minute podcast about asset management? That's BS, right? You're not consuming it. You're not consuming for education. You're just consuming to listen. You've probably heard the saying, goes in one ear and out the other. Like you're listening, but you're not hearing me. It's kind of like the same thing, right? It's like you're consuming that podcast, but you're not really listening to that podcast. You're not really hearing the message that the speaker is trying to give you. If you are, you should be able to create a post out of that, right? And then the next thing is YouTube. If you're listening to good YouTube videos, watching good YouTube videos, you should be able to create good content from that. And then industry reports, right? I'm in multifamily. So Marcus and Millichap, IPA, they're going to put out quarterly industry reports. There's all these different industry reports that come along that you can use to leverage market data, right? You can post something about your particular market. And then once you've consumed a good piece of content, you can share what you've learned, whether you agree or not, a summary or story that connects the dots to all those things that you've consumed, right? So it's easy to create content when you're consuming good content, because you can just share what you've consumed, whether you agree or not. Whoops, excuse me, y'all. My camera fell. My cat jumped on my desk. Can you guys still hear me? Okay, cool. So remember that you are unique, right? Your content should be a reflection of you, which is really, really, really important, right? You don't have to be a robot on social media, and you don't have to try to keep everyone happy. You are there to be you, right? So it's okay if you post something that maybe other people don't agree with, because it's going to generate comments and it's going to generate buzz. And that is something that is okay, because you want to create engagement, which is really, really, really important. And you want to show your personality, which is really important. So let's talk a little bit about core content, and I want to help you create your core content, and then we'll wrap up and open it up for Q&A. So how do you create your core content? So I'm just going to give you some example here. So if you write down 10 things that you can talk about when it comes to a particular niche, then that's going to help you get kickstarted on what your core content is, right? So write down 10 things that you can talk about. If you're in multifamily real estate, or if you're in single family real estate, if you're in short-term rentals, if you're in industrial, triple net, whatever it is, write down 10 things that you can talk about. And it doesn't have to all be real estate related, but maybe it is. Narrow it down to 3 topics that fall in the intersection of your target audience's problems, right? So most people, we'll go through an example here. Let's talk about investing in real estate. Most people that are just getting started investing in real estate have one of these 10 problems that I just listed right here when they're getting started, right? They don't know how to pick an asset class. They don't know the benefits of the operational benefits of that asset class. They don't know how to source deals. They don't know what tax benefits come along with that asset class. They don't know how to do due diligence. They don't know how to work with general contractors. They don't know how to do a budget for a rehab. They don't know how to finance these deals. They don't know how to raise capital for these deals. And then they don't know how to generate cash flow and how the business works to actually produce returns for investors. I literally did this, and I did this slide in like 60 seconds. So in 60 seconds, I came up with 10 topics that have to do with investing in real estate. And I randomly just bolded 3 of these topics, right? So if I was just getting started, like this is me, 5 years ago or whatever in 2018, and I was trying to post content about investing in real estate, I would list 10 things that I know have to do with real estate. And I would just pick 3 of these, and these would become my 3 pillars of content, right? So going forward on my profile, I would talk about operational benefits of multifamily, because I'm in multifamily, the tax benefits of multifamily, and how multifamily generates cash flow for investors. Those would be my 3 pillars of content. And I would post about these 3 things over and over and over and over again in different ways, sharing different information, and see if my audience resonates with it, right? We talked a little bit earlier about trial and error. Maybe I'm posting a lot about the operational benefits of multifamily and nobody's commenting on anything. Nobody's liking anything. People just don't care. Well, guess what? I'm going to go back to my list and I'm going to pick something else, because clearly that topic did not resonate with my audience. So I need to cross that one out and pick something else. But maybe the other 2 are really, really, really benefiting with or generating a buzz with my audience really well. People like talking about taxes. People like talking about cash flow, passive income for investors, right? If that's generating a ton of comments, well, I need to focus on those 2, maybe double down. Maybe I don't even need that 3rd one, but if I do, I need to cross that one out, go back to my list, pick something else that resonates with my audience. But try to create your core content around 3 particular topics. So like you'll see, we'll go back to my profile, right? I talk about real estate, I talk about small business, and I talk about personal finance, right? So those are my 3 kind of core topics. And I have some subtopics kind of in those things. So you can get even granular when you go into your content wheel and your content flywheel, which we're not talking about today, but repurposing content, creating that content flywheel. But those are my 3 niches. I talk about real estate, I talk about small business, I talk about personal finance, how to save money, how to be better with your finances, things like that, right? So having those 3 topics makes it easier to generate content for your audience. So that's everything I got for today. I know I was talking really fast. It's been 40 minutes, but I was trying to fly through this as much as possible and offer as much value as possible. If you have any questions, you need any consulting on your social media profile, feel free to send me an email. That's my Brian at blueoakinvest with an S at the end.com, or you can shoot me a text as well. I am more than happy to get on a call with you and answer any questions. But I will now open it up for Q&A and see if anybody has any questions. I'm happy to either talk about these slides or anything else social media related as well.
Wow, that was amazing. It just made me really be able to focus, because I'm all over the place. Like, I'm mom, and then I'm wife, and then I'm business owner and real estate investor. And so I post about a lot of different things. And as Michael and I were just sitting here, he's like, you get the most posts when you talk about being a mom and a business owner. Yep. Those are the things when people start responding to the posts that you create. My question is, how often do you post?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So I would say quality over quantity, right? So people sometimes post 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 times a day, and 9 of them suck. Don't do that. It's better to post 1 really quality post per day, just once, than it is to post 2 or 3 times a day. The algorithm likes when you post obviously more frequently, but if you post too much, you're going to water down your content, right? So let's say you spend an hour or 2 hours creating this amazing post. It's amazing. It's just man, this post is going to get at least 50 comments. But then you post 5 other times that day, you're washing down the likelihood that that post is going to be seen because you're posting too much, right? So it's better to post 1 really quality post per day. And also, we didn't really talk about this, but you need to figure out based on your audience what time of day to post. That's another, maybe somebody's going to ask that question, but learning your audience's time of day. There are different times of day and different days of the week that have higher engagement, and knowing that will help you know when to post as well. But once per day would be, I would say, at the minimum 7 days a week. Keep the content wheel going.
Awesome. Thank you.
You're welcome.
We have plenty of questions, but we want to open it up to everybody else first. And see if anybody else has some questions right now. If not, we'll jump back.
Yeah, Brian, I have some questions.
Sure.
Hey, so I just want to know, for people that with W-2s like myself,
Yep.
I mean, I see LinkedIn is a very effective way to market real estate, right? I've seen many successful people do that, but how would we do it? We still have W-2 though, because you risk up your job, right? And then your employers. So I don't know. I always have mixed feeling about that.
Yeah,
because I post two posts, and then I got my friends from work reach out to me immediately.
Right.
I don't know, that made me nervous.
Yeah, you definitely have to be careful, and it is case by case, right? So it's some employers they just don't care, right? You can go out there, I have friends that are they have a W-2 and then they're in real estate, whether multifamily or single family, and then you can't even tell they have a job from their profile, right? You just can't, because their employer doesn't care. Maybe they've worked there for 7, 8, 9, 10 years and they know that their people don't care. But if you are a little bit more, under scrutiny or under, if they're looking at you a little bit more closely, you definitely have to be careful. But here's what I will tell you. And I think some people make this mistake, and I've actually made this mistake, and it's something I'm consciously aware of, and I have a sort of plan of action. I think you have to be careful, particularly on LinkedIn and on Facebook, depending on your goal. You have to be careful about connecting with too many real estate investors. So if your goal is to raise capital on LinkedIn, if your goal is to raise capital on Facebook, and 95% of your friends are all GPs, you're not going to raise any money.
Oh, yeah.
Right. So it's actually more beneficial that you keep, like, I'm looking at your profile, Vian. So it says facilities engineer at BKV Corporation, right? It's actually better that you leave that alone, and then you can then go and reach out to other engineers, right? And engage them that way and say, hey, I'm a fellow engineer. What do you do? Oh, here's what I do. Oh, by the way, I'm a real estate investor. If your profile is nothing but real estate and it doesn't mention you're an engineer, I just think you're selling me some kind of sales pitch, right?
Yeah.
So it's actually more beneficial that you highlight the fact that you're an engineer. It makes me want to engage with you, because let's say I'm an engineer, you're an engineer. If we're talking to each other about engineer stuff, then it's easy to have a conversation, and then you can ease your way into the real estate stuff. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So I would lean heavily on the engineer stuff, right? So you can say, I'm an engineer who invests in real estate, and you're going to find other engineers that invest in real estate that way, or want to.
Okay. Sounds good. Thank you, Brian.
Yeah.
I actually like that information you just gave. I was struggling with, do I change my profile, or?
I would lean on your
Or what?
professional background really hard. I don't know what your professional background is, but if your goal is to raise capital on LinkedIn or on Facebook or on Instagram, you need to have some sort of reason for people to connect with you. We all get messages from people all day that are selling us junk, right? That are trying to spam us for different services. And if your profile shows that you're a salesman, you're pitching investment opportunities, then I'm probably not going to want to talk to you. But if you're an engineer and I'm an engineer, like, oh, I want to talk to other engineers. If you're a doctor and I'm a doctor, well, I want to talk to other doctors, right? Whatever it is it might be. So lean really heavily on your professional background if you can. It's going to help you create connections much easier.
Cool. Do you use a scheduling system to post on the different platforms, or do you just go directly and put the content in?
Yeah, so Facebook's a little bit tricky. Facebook, you actually can't use a scheduling system for your personal profile. You can use it for a business page. So if you have a business profile, business page, you can use the scheduling software to post on Facebook. Because of that, I use my personal profile right now. I have to post it manually. So, when I wake up in the morning, I just have a routine to say, hey, when I wake up, every day at 8 a.m., I post my content that I already have created. So I just copy it and paste it, right? I just copy it from where I saved it and I paste it in the morning, and then I hit the post button, and then I don't think about it for the rest of the day. I do engagement throughout the day as I have time, whether I'm on my lunch hour or whatever, or just have a second, I pull up my phone, I engage with content. So for LinkedIn, you can use scheduling software. There are a ton of them. Just type in LinkedIn scheduling software. I don't really have one that, like, man, this thing is rock star. There's Hootsuite. There's so many. I don't use one for LinkedIn. I just go in I copy, I post it on Facebook, and then I take one and I post it on LinkedIn. I do it myself. I wouldn't get so caught up on the the scheduling software as it being like the most important thing and spending too much time doing that. They all work, but just pick one that works for you. Buffer works great too as well. Yeah, I heard I've used Buffer before. Any other questions? Anybody want a profile review? We can do a live profile review.
Brian, so just want to give a quick comment on the comment that you gave to Vian, because I'm also an engineer, and recently I've started just to connecting with only real estate investors, not software engineers, because I was like, okay, this is the only thing that I want to focus on. So I did a ton of that. I ignored a bunch of requests from software engineers. So I'm really glad to hear your comment about don't ignore that side of you and kind of leverage that to gain attraction. I think that's super helpful for me.
Yeah, it's really, really important. And if you want to accept some friend requests from people in your community, but you don't want to have too many. You know, I would say a very large percent, half or more of, let's say you have 1,000 LinkedIn connections. I'm looking at your profile here, Austin. It says you're software engineer / podcast host, right? Maybe somehow, if your job's okay with it, you put software engineer and real estate investor, right? Or something like that. But software engineer, like, you should be able to connect with a lot of other software engineers. And then when you start engaging in conversation, you can say, oh, by the way, I invest in real estate, right? Or if, let's say, maybe you have an email newsletter, Austin, that is specifically for, we haven't talked about investor avatars and niches, but maybe your niche is you target other software engineers, right? I create passive investment opportunities for software engineers. That could literally be your brand right there, right? So when you reach out to people and say, hey, you know, my name's Austin, I'm a software engineer, I work here, I'm just connecting with other software engineers in the field. Boom, instant, easy connection request. They respond, hey, cool, I work at Sun, what do you do? Okay, this is what I do. Oh, by the way, I have a newsletter that I put out. It's for software engineers who may be interested in passive investment opportunities in real estate. Does that something that sounds of interest to you? Okay, cool. Drop your name and email in the LinkedIn DM. I'll add you to my CRM. You put them in active campaign, you put them in MailChimp, they get a drip campaign and they're getting your content now. Now they're on your list and you try to schedule a call with them, right? So that should be your angle on something like LinkedIn.
Got it. Yeah, that's perfect. Thanks.
Rob, it looks like you have a question.
Yeah, I figured, excuse me, I'll throw the hand up there. Thanks for putting this together, Brian. I appreciate it. Question, and then really open it up, comment to the group. One, have you started to utilize, from a content standpoint, Chat GPT to start creating content? And two, for other individuals in the group here, I attended virtually like a 2-day conference about Chat GPT last week. And it's like we walked through different categories of the ways that you can utilize this tool, and it was just very eye-opening. So they gave us like a 99-page wizard, they call it, of the most effective ways to use it. So if anyone would like to receive that PDF, just include your email in the chat, and then I'm happy to email it to you out after at the end of the call.
Awesome. Great question. So Chat GPT is obviously an industry hot topic right now, an AI conversation. I have used it to generate some, it's not a regular part of my repertoire. So you guys have probably all heard the term writer's block. We've all kind of like heard, like, I'm sitting at the computer, I carved out an hour to write, and I do that every day. If you look at my schedule, I think it's from 8 to 9, Monday through Friday. Actually, every day. I try to carve out an hour to write social media posts, right? So that's my hour of writing hour. Now, sometimes I sit down and I've got my coffee and I'm like just staring at the screen. I hit like a wall, right? Or maybe I have an idea and I don't know where to start. If I have one of those moments, I have in the past went to Chat GPT and typed in, 5 benefits of real estate investing, and it just spits out 5 topics, right? Now, the one thing I would encourage you to do is you still have to make it your own. Don't take it, copy and paste it and throw it in Facebook, because then it's very clear when it doesn't have your voice. Because when you start to post a lot, you're going to have a voice on Facebook. You're going to have a voice on LinkedIn. People expect your content to come off a certain way, the way you type, the way you chat, the way you talk, right? And if you're just copying and pasting things from AI, it's going to be very obvious, and it's probably not going to generate a lot of buzz. So use it to kind of help get kickstarted, but I wouldn't lean on it too much, because at the end of the day, the one thing AI can't do, no matter how amazing, maybe it gets 100x better, it can't be you. It can't be your voice. You are you. You are your voice. And unless the AI gets really good at replicating us, which I guess technically is possible, it won't be unique, right? So your goal is to be unique and create unique content, and that's where it can help you, but you definitely want to make it your own.
100%. Thanks. Thanks,
Yep.
Brian.
So this is Ryan Johnson. He lives here in Houston. He's in Jake and Gino. He is very good at LinkedIn. I used to hit LinkedIn really hard, and then he really surpassed me. He focused really heavy on it. But look at his bio here: anesthesia provider that buys apartments along with passive investing partners. Right? Very clear what he does. Right? So if you're a doctor, you need to say, medical doctor, whatever your title is, that builds passive income through apartment buildings, right? So here's the thing that you have to remember too. Remember, doctors are some of the smartest people in the world, but they're also some of the dumbest people in the world. They're experts, and that's no offense, right? They're very, very subject matter experts on one particular thing. And then they don't know a lot about a lot of other stuff, right? So maybe they don't know what multifamily is, right? So that's why he chose the word apartments, right? So, and I don't know if that's right or wrong, but it's a trial and error thing, right? Where you maybe try multifamily and see if that sticks, if it's generating buzz. If it doesn't, change it to apartments. If that doesn't work, then just change it to real estate, right? I buy real estate with partners, right? So anesthesia provider that buys apartments building with passive investing partners. Healthcare wealth diversifier. I'm not sure what that is, but small multifamily developer and then asset accumulator. So I think personally, Ryan could probably just stick with this right here and probably doesn't even need any of this, but his profile is very good. And then you see how he's got his medical thing? He's got his apartments on the left, and then he's got his anesthesia on the right, right? So if you're just scrolling and it's recommending you as a connection where you can kind of get that really quick. He's in medical. And then he says, I use income from anesthesia to buy apartment buildings. It's very simple, right? Anyone else?
Hi, everyone. I just wanted to quickly ask, would you build two different profiles if I were reaching out to investors as well as direct to seller leads? Or how would you go about, would you combine those together, or what do you think about that?
I think you need one profile. Are you talking about on Facebook or on LinkedIn?
On LinkedIn, or just in general, just in the general
Just
media.
one. You're a real estate investor, right? So if you're a real estate investor, you can use that one profile to do both.
Okay.
So I don't think you need two profiles. Yeah, they should be able to work with one.
Okay. I'm just saying, because in the past I've been told, keep your profile, if your target audience is investors, keep that profile to that, or for the magnet and all that. Because you have to have two different magnets, one for investors and one for direct seller targets.
Well, so here's what you can do, right? So your bio should say, are you guys in multifamily? Okay. So you should say, I buy multifamily buildings with investors or partners, right? Something very similar to what I have, right? I buy small multifamily apartments with investors, something simple, right? And then, so that saying that you buy apartments tells me if I'm an owner, like, okay, this guy buys apartments. That's good for the sellers, right? And then with investors says, oh, good for passive investors, right? And then if you have a call to action, what you can do, you guys have probably all heard of like a link tree where you can create a page that has a bunch of different links. I know Valerie uses one for the wealth group. So you can create a link tree, and when they click on the link tree, there's two links. One that says sell your apartment to me. That's for your sellers. And then the other one that says partner with me. That's for your passive investors, right? So you get one link that takes them to a landing page that has two links on it.
Awesome. See, I didn't even know that. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Well, if you have,
Brian.
Go ahead.
Just a follow-up question on the comment that you gave earlier. So when I was thinking about my avatar and my core messaging, one of the group that I'm really interested in promoting is first-gen immigrants who have high-paying jobs in the STEM field. So it's not necessarily self-engineer. I'm just thinking about how exactly I can put that messaging out in LinkedIn, because LinkedIn seems to be a more based on professions rather than like first-gen identity part of things. So putting things like, oh, let's say, for example, I'm a first-gen immigrant in STEM, investing in real estate. I'm not sure if that's becoming unprofessional in a sense. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I don't know if LinkedIn would be the best place for that, just because the filtration, like if you guys have a Sales Navigator, if you have the advanced version of LinkedIn, it doesn't obviously allow you to target people based on if they're first-gen immigrants or not. It doesn't mean they're not on there, right? And it's also important to try to remember if there's a big enough audience for that on LinkedIn. I'm not saying there's not. I think that's a good avatar to have, but it's something I would focus more on like in person. So like maybe there's first gen investor conferences or first gen just conferences in general where first gen immigrants get together, first generation business owners, first generation entrepreneurs. So like literally type that in Google, first generation entrepreneur conference, first generation business owner conference, first generation real estate investor conference. Go see if there's local networking group and conferences and go to those events and meet those people in person and have conversations with them. I don't know if marketing yourself as that online is going to create maybe too much of a barrier too. You know, if I'm not first gen, maybe I don't want to talk to you if that's all your bio talks about. So I would pick one avatar. I think that's a mistake that some of us try to make too much is we try to talk to everybody. And when you try to talk to everybody, you end up talking to nobody, right? So if software engineers is your avatar, stick with software engineers, hit it hard. Don't try to diversify and have 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different avatars. You can, but make sure, you know, you can have a couple more, but make sure your content is focused on one. And then you can go out to their conferences and stuff and try to meet people.
Got it. Yeah, thank you so much, Brian.
Yeah, podcast hosts. Isaac asked a question, thoughts on adding podcast hosts to bios or as experience on LinkedIn. I think it's fine. I just wouldn't necessarily, again, if we were looking at Alex's, you know, a minute ago, he's got podcast hosts at the end. I think that's okay that you have podcast hosts on there, but just it shouldn't be like the highlight of your career, if that makes any sense, right? Unless you're trying to, if you got to remember what your profile has a goal. So if you're trying to grow listeners and you want to use your podcasts, I'm sorry, your LinkedIn and your Facebook as a way to grow listeners, your whole profile needs to be wrapped around your podcast, meaning your banner needs to talk about your podcasts. Your picture should be maybe you recording on your podcast. Your bio should say, I host a podcast show that talks about passive real estate investing, right? Podcast. It's all about your podcast. Your call to action needs to be a link to your podcast. Your copy needs to be videos of you talking on your podcast. Everything needs to be podcast related. And that's if you're really, 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 really trying to grow listeners on your podcast. If you're not, and you just want to throw that on your profile, like at the end, podcast hosts, that's okay too. But we used to have a podcast for 3 years. Podcasts are great for building trust and building, nurturing relationships, but we personally didn't find them as a great tool to leverage passive investors because at the time, and again, we were learning as we went, we weren't niche down enough on our avatar. Now, if you have a podcast that says, you know, passive real estate investment podcast for medical professionals, well, that's a very niche podcast and that's good. That's how you want to have it. Ours was too generic. So we ended up not generating enough leads from that personally. So just our experience.
That's great. Thank you.
Yep.
All right, Brian. I was wondering, you use your posting your social media for your business approach. Do you ever put any personal stuff in there with it? Because I know you said, you know, it's focused just for business, but you take your kids on vacation or you're going fishing or something, do you post that stuff?
100%. I would encourage you to layer in some personal content to make you human as much as possible. You don't want to overdo it, but people do like personal content, especially on Facebook, because you're going to have some friends that are literally just friends that don't invest in real estate. You're going to have family members that don't invest in real estate that see your stuff. So you don't want to make it all about real estate. Now, I see this all the time too, where sometimes people talk too much about real estate and not enough about other stuff. And then that is a problem too. So like, I'll show you my profile. So look at this post I did on my wife and I's anniversary. So our anniversary is on December 4th. So in 2022, I wrote this post, right? That it changed my life. Cheers to another 6 years. It's a picture of our wedding photo. We got 124 comments, right? So people like to say, happy anniversary, congratulations. Like it's 120 of congratulations, right? And this is good because it generates buzz. People see your profile. It shows the algorithm you're creating content that people like. So you do want to post some personal stuff, but you don't want to post only real estate stuff. Like you'll notice my real estate stuff doesn't always get a lot of traction. You know, like here's one talking about inflation, which I thought was going to be I thought a lot of people were going to comment on this. I only got one comment. This is a platitude. Believe in yourself. One comment. My meetup that I had here only got 5 likes. I thought this was going to be another one that did well, talking about population, only 5 likes. Sometimes I think questions are going to pop, but they don't. This one was asking about your challenges in social media. People liked asking about retirement, 50 comments. This one again just didn't get comments. This is me and my wife, again, a family thing. Me and my wife for Christmas, 50 comments, 48 comments, right? So it just depends. You do want to mix in some personal stuff. Kid stuff can be great. I like picking on, and he's a good friend of mine, but I'm going to pick on him a little bit. I like picking on Randy. So Randy's a good friend of mine. He's a partner in one of our deals, but he only posts about real estate. And look at his engagement. So he's talking about cost segregation and depreciation. Cool. 2 likes. Then he's talking about his millennials should be investing in multifamily. No comments, 1 like. Then he's talking about the tidal wave of determining what market to invest in. You want your stuff to be engaging so that people want to actually engage with you. So posting stuff about your family and humanizing, or you know what people really, really, really like is people really, and I was joking with Ryan about this the other day. If you look at like Ryan's stuff and what stuff, I like looking at engagement. So if you go to show activity and you go to posts, you'll see he's the same way. Sometimes he gets 10 comments, 5 comments, no comments. Him standing at a meetup, he got 5 comments. This one, look at this one. So check this out. He got almost 30 likes, but no comments. This one, check this out. So people love stuff like this with pictures. So consistency leads to progress. 3D renderings of what he's building. He got 17 comments, right? So you'll see people really like pictures. He posted a video, no comments. So people really like seeing pictures of things, and he gets a lot of engagement when he is posting more pictures of his buildings. He's got another one on here that did really well. Elon Musk thing. Here it is. This one here. This one had 21 comments. So he's building a couple of duplexes, and he asked which one's your favorite, and he posted pictures of his real estate. So people really like comments. So, and if you just, go to your profile and study the things that are really trending. If you go to other people's profiles and just see, we haven't talked about strategy, but just see what's working for other people on LinkedIn, which stuff is getting a lot of comments. Then you can kind of see, okay, this is the type of stuff that works. You have to constantly always be analyzing and testing things. But yes, please post personal stuff. Not on LinkedIn, but I would do it on Facebook.
Thank you. And I think we're well past the top of the hour. Anybody, whoever wants to stay on asking questions, if Brian has time, if not, get to wrap it up. Thank you so much, Brian.
You're welcome.
We really appreciate you coming on the Wealth by Choice Saturday meetup, and it's just awesome. Great information.
Happy to be here, y'all. Really appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you.
Thanks, Brian.
Thank you, Brian.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Brian. This was very helpful.
Brian, I have a question real quick.
Sure.
So I
Sure.
have to go back and forth because I'm so particular about like who I add as a friend too. I think I only have like 200 friends on my Facebook.
Yep.
Because I post a lot about my kids and I post a lot about like our life.
Yep.
And then I get worried and I start like taking stuff down or like making things private because I'm like, ooh, there's weirdos out there.
Sure.
I don't know what you think about that.
Yeah, so you do have 241 friends. So I'll go through my strategy real quick. So I probably have like 20 friend requests here. Let me see. 17. So I've got 17 friend requests. So what I usually do is like I go one at a time, right? So let's just look at Mr. Edward here. And I'm sorry if anybody knows Edward, but I don't. I asked myself, like, all right, what is this guy posting about? I literally go through these one at a time. He's talking about multifamily. Okay, cool. I like that. He's got a personal photo here. So he's sharing something about a young warrior, hits one of his sons. Okay, cool. And then he knows 526 people that I know. That's a lot, right? So for somebody like this, I'm like, boom, done. No problem, Edward. We can be friends. Then I'll go to Jeremy and I'll say, okay, we've got 73 mutual friends. Jeremy likes bourbon, which is cool. Quantum canning, I don't know what that is. I just kind of go through their content and see like, all right, what are they posting about? Is there anything related to real estate? If not, it doesn't have to be real estate related, because again, you could be finding potential passive investors, but I want to make sure their stuff's not crazy. Sometimes I click on stuff and it's like somebody smoking weed or somebody, doing drugs or something crazy like that. I'm like, nope, delete, right? But this guy knows 73 people that I know. Does he know anybody that I'm like super close with? Well, Bill Hamill, I know Harris really well. I know Josh Ferrari. So it says here that he's a beverage entrepreneur and real estate investor. Okay. And I don't see anything crazy for Jeremy. So for Jeremy, I'm like, yes, boom, fine. Let's go. Let's run with it. And then, let me see if I can find somebody who's kind of like questionable. Let's see. It's usually people that we don't have a lot of friends with. I actually know Jason. I just haven't accepted his. Ava, executive officer, right? So Ava's got a pretty interesting picture up here. She is talking about credit financial hub. She's talking about business credit and cash funding. She's talking more about credit repair. I have zero interest in credit repair. That is not something I have any interest in. And even though we have 133 mutual friends, I don't have credit repair needs, right? So delete. I have no interest in following somebody that has credit repair needs. Let's just pick a random one. Andrew here. Digital marketing for startups and small business. Like, all right, I'm in small business. I like marketing. Is this something I could? He says he's a sales and marketing consultant for startups and small businesses. So they provide services, website development, app development, SEO. So something like this, I'd be like, yeah, I mean, I'm cool with letting Andrew follow me because I might need Andrew's services one day, right? So I can accept his friend request. I don't see anything crazy on here. So I go through them one by one and make sure there's nothing crazy. So that's something you can do. And the other thing you can do, I'll show you too, if you don't know this, Vanessa, let me go to my profile. You can change things to being private, right? So like, you don't have to delete something. Like maybe, for example, let's go to my picture of me and my wife back in December. Maybe I want, or this one, let's just pick this one. I don't want them seeing, maybe this was like me and my kids. If you click the ellipsis, and you can do this on Facebook as well, the app, if you hit edit audience, you can actually create custom friend classes to only have, like you can create a group that's called family only, and only your family would see it, right? Or only I would see it, or only specific friends. And then I can go pick those specific friends that I want to see it. It doesn't have to be for everyone. And you definitely wouldn't want to make it public, for example, right? Public would mean even if I'm not your friend, I would see it. So just being selective about that would be, I think, important. That's how I approach it. I don't know if that's the best answer, but you would just need to develop some sort of level of comfort if you are posting some stuff about your kids. Make sense?
Yes, thank you.
Yep.
Okay.
Anyone else? Wow, we could just go on and on. I love this.
Anybody else have any real estate stuff going on? Real estate questions?
Brian, do you ever use the sales navigator to try to seek out investors who are part of your avatar in LinkedIn?
Yes.
How do you do it?
So you can create lists on Sales Navigator. So if you have Sales Navigator, what you can do is you go in there and you type in, let's just use the word doctor, for example, because you're a doctor, right? So you would type in doctor, and you can create, there's all kinds of filters. You could do doctors only in the United States, doctors that have been a doctor for at least 10 years, doctors that are in this particular state. Maybe you want to target the doctors that are in your market so that you can actually offer them the opportunity to meet in person, get really, really niche, right, in your city. And you can go and do that in LinkedIn, and it will say, hey, Alex, you've got 600 doctors that are within an hour of you that have been doctors for at least 10 years. And then you can save that list. So you can hit save list. You can name the list, doctors found in my market on February 11th, because the list might change as dates change, right? And then you could go through one by one and either message them directly, add a connection request, add a follow request, or you can use a LinkedIn software, if you were interested in using a software, to actually auto add them as a friend, auto send them a message, and go from there as well.
What software would you use to do something like that?
There's one that I used to use. So there's a couple. Where's the one that I like? Let me look it up. Okay, so there's two that I like. I'll put them in the chat. The one that that there's two that I like, and I've used both, and they're both good. One is called Octopus, and the other one is called WeConnect. So the thing about automation for your LinkedIn is you have to be very careful, because if I have gotten flagged by LinkedIn and had my profile banned for using too much automation in the past. It's temporarily, they give you your profile back, but they basically shut it down for like 5 to 7 days. They ban your profile, and then they give it back to you. They send you a warning email and they say, hey, if you do this again, you might not get your profile back, which is, again, you just create another one, right? But if you got to make sure you're careful. So LinkedIn has rules, and you have to know the rules, and you can just look this up on their help page. I think if last time I checked, you're not allowed to send more than 100 friend requests a month. Okay. It's 25 a week. It used to be unlimited about 1.5 years or 2 years ago. It really changed the game. It forced you to get really more strategic. And the reason that they're doing that is I'm actually personally not a huge fan of LinkedIn. I think it's great, but I think it's very spammy and it's very salesy if you're not careful. And part of that maybe is because I was, again, connecting with too many real estate investors and vendors. I'm getting brokers and insurance people messaging me all the time asking if they can insure my property. No. So you have to be careful, but you can only send 25 a week. So that's actually a good thing, where I would argue that you shouldn't use the automation to send friend requests. You should actually handpick those. It's only 25. That's not a lot. When it was unlimited and you can send unlimited, I mean, by all means, go for it. Send 300 a day if you want to.
Oh, Brian, sorry for interrupting. That number, at least from my experience, Alex and Brian, has changed, where you could be do like per day versus per week.
Okay. Yeah, they change it all the time. It's really important that you, like, if you go to the, just type in like LinkedIn software updates on Google and go to their actual LinkedIn page, they update it all the time. Every 3 to 6 months, the algorithm changes, the way they do things changes. They're constantly trying to make it better. So you just need to know what the number is, because if the number, let's say it's 50 a week, just making numbers up, and you send 75, you might get banned, or you might get flagged as somebody who's spamming people, and they might temporarily suspend your profile. Right. And you don't want to do that. So just know what that number is. And then in Oculus or in WeConnect, it'll ask you, you've got a list of 100. How many do you want to send per day? And you enter that number manually. So say, hey, I don't want to send more than 10 per day, for example. And the software will send 10 friend requests for you, 10 per day, no more than 10. What's up, Rob?
Oh, Alex, did you have another question off of that, Alex? Okay. Yeah, Brian, with regards to that automation, that workflow that you can set up, so it just almost sounds to me like a drip campaign that you can set up within LinkedIn, essentially.
Correct.
Does it know, utilizing those softwares, do you know offhand if it knows if somebody responds, then it will it automatically stops that workflow?
It does.
You have to manually, okay, it does. Okay.
Yeah, it will stop as soon as they reply.
All right, great. Thanks.
Yeah. Yep, you're welcome. And the goal, I mean, you can usually tell when somebody's using one. I mean, it's a lot of people are using them. I get them all the freaking time, where it's like message after message after message. So the way it works is it's a drip campaign. So it'll send that welcome message, or that first message. It'll say, hey, so-and-so, thanks for connecting with me on LinkedIn. You can put whatever, right? And then you can set it to, if no reply, in 48 hours, send them another one. And you could literally drip the hell out of them. You could create 20 of them if you wanted to. They're probably going to block you, but you could if you wanted to. Any other real estate stuff anybody wants to talk about, or social media profiles, or anything at all?
Brian, sorry.
Go ahead, Alex. If you have more questions, fire away.
Brian, at MM5, we were briefly talking about the industrial space. How are you guys doing on that right now?
Good. It's still early. So we closed on that one in late September, I think, if not early October. It's a good space to be in. It is different than multifamily. It's much simpler, which is why I like it. It's not as sexy, right? There's usually not heavy value add. The leases are 3 to 5 years, which is nice, because you're not like calling your property manager every week saying, hey, what's my occupancy? What's my delinquency? What's my bad debt? Did you get collections? Do we have any? The conversations are like 15 minutes, if that, right? So it's a very easy asset to manage, which is why I like it a lot. Now, it doesn't have the same appreciation as multifamily, right? So there's always real estate's give and take, right? You can find things like short-term rentals are phenomenal for cash flow. I know guys that won't touch a short-term rental for less than a 30% cash on cash, 30, right? But they're operational heavy, right? They're day to day. You're having people in there 7 days a week, right? You have to furnish them, and they don't appreciate as much as multifamily because they're residential real estate, right? Now you can bundle them up and use commercial real estate, and you do get some depreciation, but it's a give and take. It's a very operational heavy business, and in return you get a lot of cash flow. Multifamily is the other way around, right? There's not as much cash flow. You hire a property manager. It is operation heavy, but there's a lot of appreciation, right? There's a lot of depreciation because there's a lot of bricks and lights and stones and concrete and just different things, right? So industrial is a nice asset class because it has better cash flow for most of the deals than you will find in multifamily, and the cash flow will be more stable. Again, as long as you have quality tenants in there, because the leases are 3 to 5 years, and if you have triple net leases, what's even better about that is all the taxes and insurance and maintenance gets passed on to the tenants, right? You don't get that in multifamily. So triple net, if you can get in an industrial space, is really nice because really all you're paying is your mortgage. Right? All the expenses get passed through the triple net to the tenant. You got long-term leases, you got steady income if they're credit tenants. All the expenses get passed to the tenant. But industrial, it has been appreciating a lot in the last few years. But historically, if you look back at the last 10 to 15 years, industrial is a great asset class, but it doesn't appreciate as fast as residential space, multifamily, and residential real estate.
What do you see as the depreciation range, like as a investor, if they were to invest, 100,000, what's
Low
the
40s?
percentage of in the low 40s?
Yeah, 40
Oh,
to 50, I
wow.
would say.
That's a lot lower than multifamily then.
But you get the cash
Yeah.
flow.
That's true.
Yeah, and it's less operational risk, I would argue, and tenant risk. There's other risks involved. The tenant process, re-tenanting is harder. Usually on the underwriting, you're gonna if somebody's coming up for a lease expiring, you have to budget on the underwriting probably 12 months of lease exposure. So if you've got 100,000 square foot building and 30,000 square foot is coming available, it might take you 12 months to lease that 30,000 square feet because it's a big spot, right? So there's other risks that kind of come along with it, but I would say kind of like that 40 to 60% is probably 60 on the high end, 40 to 50 more on the average size.
Do you do any strip malls?
I have not done strip malls. I love strip malls. I want to do strip malls. I love anything that's triple net because you don't have to pay for anything. The taxes, the insurance, and then they have what's called CAM expenses for triple net as well, which basically means the upkeep of the property, the landscaping, the signage, the pressure washing, the window cleaning. All the tenants pay for it. There's very little expense on the owner side. So I love it, but it's really about putting the right tenants in there, because if you don't know how to tenant the property, that can kill the asset as well. And it's all about location and visibility. But I personally really like small retail. I'm not talking about, like the Walmarts and stuff like that, but just small strip center neighborhood stuff.
Awesome. Thank you.
A whole nother route we could go, right? Everything. But once again, Brian, thank you so much for your time. Thank you everybody for everybody's time and joining. And we appreciate having everybody on every weekend. And I think we'll jump off now and we'll catch you guys next Saturday.
Awesome. See y'all. Please feel free to reach out if you have any questions. Great to connect with y'all.
Thanks, guys. Thanks, Brian. Good to see everyone. Take care.